Welcome. This is Steve Katz, and we are back with Shrink Wrap. And I'm very excited today to have two very special guests from the LD ADHD Center of Hawaii. Dr. William Dobson, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
And Gregory Mason. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So it's my custom, just so I could feel at ease, to ask you a little bit about yourselves. First, so Dr. Dobson, where do you hail from?
I'm from Idaho originally.
Idaho.
Yeah.
And how did you end up here in Hawaii?
The job. I got offered the job here.
With this center?
Yes, with the center. The owner of it is a friend, and she offered me the job.
And what kind of a background did you have?
I'm a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, and I've had about 10 years in the business.
Uh-huh. Did you work mostly before with children?
Half children, half adults.
That must look funny, half children. So let's move on here. Gregory, where are you from?
California.
And what brought you here?
I actually came here to go to school to finish my doctorate in clinical psychology.
At the University of Hawaii?
No, actually, clinical psychology is not offered at the
That's
university.
right. Yeah.
But it is offered at Argosy University.
Just down the street?
Just down the street, yes.
Welcome. So either one of you can take this question. What is the LD ADHD Center of Hawaii?
The LD ADHD Center of Hawaii is a place where people come to undergo neuropsychological evaluation, as well as receive therapy for individuals and families.
So why would somebody want to do that?
There's something that's interfering with their ability to function, whether it be at school or at home or out in the community.
And is it usually a referral from the school or the parent, or?
Well, it could be either the parent, the school, or a medical provider.
Okay, so let's say I'm Johnny, and I'm in the 4th grade, and I'm doing terrible in school, and I don't know why. And somebody refers me to your center. What would happen to me?
Well, you'd go through an intake process, the parent would, and we find out what the history of that child or individual is, and then we decide on what kind of test, given the information that we obtain through that intake process. And so we're going to look at a wide variety of areas, for instance, IQ, academic achievement, attention and concentration, learning and memory. Those are the areas that we look at.
They still give the standard Stanford Binet IQ test?
Well, we don't give the Stanford, but it is still given.
What do you give?
We give the Wechsler intelligence test for both adults and children.
I see. And so then, how would you? All right, so I come in, and I'm Johnny, and my IQ is, average, 100, right?
Okay.
Is that still average?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
still average.
And, but I'm getting, Fs in reading and math.
Okay.
And I'm beating up kids left and right.
Okay.
Well, so after the Wechsler, what other tests would you give me?
We'd give the Woodcock-Johnson usually.
What does that determine?
Academic achievement.
Oh, but I'm not doing well already, right?
Well, we know that, but we want to know exactly where you're at.
So specific math problems, reading problems, writing problems.
Yes.
I see.
Specifically, and what areas. And then if you come in with a report of having difficulty with reading, we want to look at that as well to see if you fit the profile for dyslexia.
What is the current profile for dyslexia?
Well, difficulty with reading.
We know that. I'm doing badly.
Even your ability to write things down that you are reading, understanding what you're reading.
So do you get specific in terms of what kind of reading mistakes I make?
Yes.
Is that important?
Your reading rate, your reading accuracy, and your comprehension.
And I know that some people have are under the impression that dyslexia is when you read things backwards, right?
It's not just that.
It can be that, but
Yeah.
there's many other
Mhm.
ways of doing that.
Mhm.
So, what's your job there?
Social skills therapy.
What does that mean?
So,
Are you going to take care of me beating the other kids up?
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
We do cover things such as bullying, how to not be a bully, how to avoid getting bullied. Oftentimes, the kids that come to us are bullied quite often. And so we discuss in the group situation how one can avoid being bullied. And it used to
It'd
be
a group of kids?
Mhm. Yeah, and so it used to be that we would run away or we would tell, and it seems that it has the reverse effect. That seems to just encourage the bullies to go further. And so now we add on such tactics as standing up for yourself, telling them no in a firm voice, and just not allowing yourself to be bullied, not by becoming aggressive, but becoming assertive. Yes.
Sometimes that's a fine distinction, assertive, aggressive. Can you give me all right, so I'll be the, hey, Four Eyes. Why you look so funny?
Because it makes you laugh. Does that make you happy?
No, you look stupid.
I'm sorry you think that.
So that would be an assertive way of,
That's standing up for myself without becoming the bully. And that's also kind of deflaming the situation, turning it back, if you will, on the bully and not giving the bully power by getting a reaction.
wow.
And so if I don't give you a reaction showing fear, then chances are pretty good you're going to move on to the next victim.
I guess it's good. I guess it's like having one more lock on your car so they steal the next car.
Exactly, yeah. It's like the club.
Yeah. So, is that a long-term process, this group thing?
Good question. It is and it isn't. And so what we actually do is we offer 3 rotations throughout the year, and each rotation is a 10-week process. So there are 10 sessions within each rotation. And each session is different social skills, or focuses rather on a different social skill. We include the parents in this process. And what we do with that is we offer the parents some psychoeducation. We give them papers that they can take home and read. We give them websites that they can go to. We give them individual support. We encourage them to work with each other, the other parents, because their children obviously are members of the group.
Right.
However, the parents are too.
Right.
And we try to really instill the fact that we plant seeds in the groups. The magic actually happens at home with the parents.
Yeah.
And so we try to provide the parents with as many tools as we possibly can to create an environment at home and when they're out in the world that is going to be productive in developing the social skills that are desired and extinguishing those behaviors that are not desired and can be barriers in their developmental process.
I like that, I mean, as a marriage and family therapist, I always encourage people to bring in the family.
Yes.
Because usually often the person who comes in is what we call the identified patient.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the problem is beyond that. It's part of the family system.
Exactly. These children do not live in a vacuum. And we try to really emphasize the fact that social skills is just that. It's not an individual thing. It's how the individual reacts and responds to his or her environment. And if the environment in which they live at home is structured as such that it's going to promote the development of positive behaviors and also promote and develop some self-esteem and social awareness, then this individual is going to be much more likely to have success in the development of social skills than otherwise. We also try to encourage the parents to take some of this to school. Bring in the teachers whenever it's possible. Usually the individual teacher is going to be much better, is going to provide a much better result than going through administration.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the Department of Education is a wonderful entity. However, we're talking about individuals, and the DOE has to look at an overall picture.
Right.
But when we're talking about individuals, oftentimes it's the teacher who is able to identify that there is a difficulty.
Yeah.
And they share that with the parent. And it usually occurs as things get more difficult for the child, as the developmental process faces more critical interactions with the individuals and coursework. And the response is going to be seen naturally by the teacher.
Yeah.
And they can share that with the family, who is the one that brings the children to us to get we kind of make a GPS of the child's brain, right? And so we get to kind of look at the different attributes of how the child's brain interacts with his or her environment. So, for example, Dr. Dobson was talking about the different reading skills
Right.
that one may have or struggle with. And so these tests that we undergo with the children look at the very specific nuances of how that child interacts with the material that he or she is reading.
Right.
And then Dr. Dobson can look at the results and say, okay, well, Susie or Johnny is having difficulty in this specific area.
Uh-huh.
And then Dr. Dobson would say, well, I wonder why. Because his or her overall IQ says that they should be able to do this pretty well.
Yeah.
And so then Dr. Dobson would undergo such a test as, what, like for ADHD?
Attention concentration. We'd want to rule out all the different problems that could occur. A lot of learning disability children experience anxiety, low self-esteem, they want to avoid. And so sometimes they will appear lazy to parents.
Right.
And it's really not laziness, it's just that they don't want to do those things because they don't do them very well.
Right.
And so you'll see children leaving homework at home, not taking it completed, not, losing it, trying to get rid of it. And it's not because they're wanting to be bad children, they just don't have the tools to deal with the problem correctly.
And so they'd rather appear forgetful
Yes.
than what they think of as dumb.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, nobody wants to admit their faults or their mistakes, and when you're young, you're going to want to avoid it at all costs.
Right.
And so then you're going to have that anxiety because I'm not doing things the way that I need to do them,
Right.
and I don't want to fail my parents.
Yeah.
So it all plays a role in what's going on for
It's giving me anxiety just talking about it.
We can help you with that.
yeah.
Well, it's funny because I've been on both sides. I was a very disruptive kid in school, in elementary school especially, and then I became a special ed teacher. So I got to feel what it feels like on both sides. I don't know that it helped me later on, because when you're a teacher in a classroom, and there's always one kid, right, who makes the teacher's life unpleasant, to say the least, right? And so I think it's great that you encourage the teachers to come in, because the teachers probably at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. And any help that they can get, I would think, would be welcome. Yeah, rather than going through the bureaucracy. You can get directly to the teacher and say, hey, look, we have something that might be able to help. You'd think they'd be grateful.
Yes, we absolutely love it when the teachers get involved. Absolutely we do. Because that means that we are now able to provide information, strategies, and tools in yet another environment in which this child interacts.
Let me come right back to you, because I just got told it's time to take a break. We'll be right back with part 2 of Shrink Wrap.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Ted Ralston. Ted is the host of Where the Road Leads. It shows every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's about technology. It's about how people collaborating and solve problems with modern technology. It's where the road leads. We all know that. We should all be listening. Join us there, 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday. Now, what about that do you agree with?
All of it.
I knew he'd say that. Aloha. Say aloha.
Aloha.
Good.
Hi,
I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on Think Tech. This show is so very dear to my heart. We talk with artists of various different ilk here about the process that they go through for their art. So we talk about what they're doing, why they are doing it, how they do it. And it's a show that is inspiring. This is what I hear from people all the time. And a show that will teach you something, sometimes something about yourself. I hope you'll join us. The show is Center Stage. It's on Think Tech every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to Shrink Wrap Hawaii. I'm here back with my guests, Dr. William Dobson and Gregory Mason. So, Gregory, you mentioned social groups. I love groups. I think that. Can you tell me more about these social groups?
Absolutely. Our social skills groups, once upon a time, we would just invite the children in and we would go through social skills training with the children, give reports to the parents. But research has shown that if we involve parents more, that the developmental process for social skills training is much more dynamic, it's much more robust, and it lasts.
So would the teachers be in the same group with the parents be in the same group with the kids, or are they separate?
Awesome question. No, the children are in their group alone because we try to give them a sense of ownership of their social skills development, which is pretty powerful. We also give them that safe place so that they can say whatever they want and not fear reprisal from mommy or daddy. However, at the same time, the parents get some briefing and debriefing about what is going on this week with the social skills group. For example, this week we might be doing communications. And then with that, we have the children go through their exercises, and then we
What
discuss
kind of
with them.
exercises?
Well, they will talk to one another, practicing such things as active listening, passive listening, reflective listening. So active listening, you kind of just, exactly.
Yes, tell me more about that.
All right, great. And so reflective listening is I say back to you what I thought I heard you say.
What I thought I heard you say was?
Exactly. And so then therefore we can establish a serious understanding of what's going on between us. We have actual communication, not just talking back and forth.
You also do, I do a lot of couples work. I do the same thing with married couples.
You know, it's interesting that it transfers to all aspects of communication. So whomever I'm communicating with, this is valid, especially, yes, in couples, yes.
Yeah.
So what we are attempting to do is create a program that is incredibly portable, yet robust and manualized, so that this training can be provided just anywhere.
When you say manualized, you mean there's actually a manual?
We're actually in the process of writing it.
Oh,
Yes.
so that they could take it with them.
So that they can take it with them, so that they can share it with teachers, so they can share it with aunts and uncles, friends and relatives that will be interacting with their child, and say, well, this is what we've been working on. Would you be interested in participating in Johnny's development? Because he's been doing really great with this, and here we go.
Presented like that, it's hard to imagine somebody saying, nah.
And it comes with a
He's
cup
on
of
his
coffee,
own.
right?
And it comes with a cup of coffee.
Absolutely,
Right. Yeah.
absolutely. And so then we're also developing a parent's handbook and a teacher's guide. So that you'll actually, by the time we're finished, you'll have a whole kit that is going to be provided for you that will help Johnny's developmental process well into the future. We've done a lot of research, we've read a lot of the papers, and it shows, the research really shows that the more that the parents are involved, the greater results that are going to be seen, but more importantly, the longer lasting these results are, because they become habituated instead of just heard or practiced.
Right, right. So how long has the center been around?
Wow, I think it's been here for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good question. One that I don't have the answer for.
It's been here longer than I have.
But it has been here for quite a
long
while.
time.
I think.
Yeah.
Are there
nine-
other centers
9 or
like it
10.
around the country, or is this like
Well,
unique?
the LD and ADHD Center of Hawaii is in the state only so far. There are other centers like it, I'm sure.
But it's not like a franchise where there's one in
No.
every state.
No.
That's right. No, we are located on different islands, and we have 2 locations here
On
on
Oahu.
Oahu.
And
We
you're
have a
also
location on Big Island.
on one.
Yeah, and so we also go we're trying to develop more opportunities to provide services to the outer islands. In fact, we're doing research on how we can provide that via distance, over the internet.
Oh, like a Skype thing or something.
Yeah, yeah. As far as it is going to make sense and is ethical, because there are
Yeah.
certainly aspects of what we do that just will not be able to be done distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we could do like screening and stuff like that. But we are still in the research stages of that.
Do you ever have parent groups?
It's a good question. And this is something we're actually developing right
Yeah.
now. And in fact, Karen Tyson, who is the leader of our establishment, we were just talking about it just yesterday. And she said that she wanted me to begin development of a parents group so that the parents could have a place to go without the children and
Yeah.
process with other parents to share strategies and struggles.
Yeah, because it can be very stressful, I'm sure, to have a child who's not doing well in school. And these would be a group of parents that share the same problems, similar problems, and they could, without. I've noticed when I run groups, people often learn much better from each other than they do from the expert.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true. It's
Yeah.
true because we have the research, we have what is written, but we don't necessarily have the child.
Yeah.
And the parent with the child can much easier guide another parent.
Right.
So, for example, if Miss Crass is meeting with Miss Smith, and Miss Smith has a 17-year-old child, but Miss Crass has a 5-year-old child, Miss Smith can really help Miss Crass
Right.
prepare for what's to come.
Right, right. Or also the feeling of, oh, wow, your son does that. My son, I thought it was me that was the problem.
Yes, yes.
You
You
know?
don't feel so alone.
Yeah. That's very often the problem, what you just said. You feel alone and it's your fault and you feel
Yes.
guilty. And,
Yeah, and it's quite a relief to find out that you're not alone in the world with a significant struggle, because it
Yeah.
really is. And our parents love their children so much, and they really want to do all that they can to provide what they need for a successful future.
right, but what do they know, right? You're not given a handbook when you have a kid.
Right? And so we're trying to write that book. We're trying to write that book as we go along
Yeah.
with the parents. We partner with the parents to help the children develop as well as they can.
Yeah. So what about the whole medication issue? That's like a really hot topic for the last 20 years. Ritalin, Adderall, all that stuff. Does your center have a policy about that? Making recommendations, not making recommendations?
Well, we make recommendations that they take them to their medical provider and discuss it with them and make an informed choice about it. In certain cases, medication is one of the better routes for some children that have more significant issues, but it's not the only way that we approach it. There's other methods, that we're talking about, and helping the child as well as the parent through therapy has been very productive as well. And so we try to start them out with that first.
Therapy, can you describe what kind of therapy?
Well, individual therapies.
For the student or for the parent or for both?
Both.
Together, separate?
Separate and together. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
But the child is able to learn how to express themselves, their feelings and emotions, because sometimes they don't know how.
Right.
And so then the parent also learns how to react to the child and their emotional state and not overreact to them. It's easy to just feel like your child's being defiant and then
Right.
react negatively to the child, and then
Yeah.
you have more of a problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you're saying you more or less leave the medication decision up to the psychiatrist or family doctor.
Yes, but we try to help them make an informed choice. You know, medications have worked. The best is medication and therapy together. That's been, you know, research has shown that that's the most effective treatment.
Right.
So, but you know, you don't want to start both of them at the same time. You want to start one at a time.
Right, I would think if the non-medication treatment works, then you don't need the medication.
Right, the less invasive.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I've always had that approach, is the least. So, and that's how we work.
And I know a lot of parents are just like really must come into you saying, I don't want my child on medication. You know, you're not going to tell me to go get medication, are you?
We hear it often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, we're not pill pushers or anything like that. We want to have other means of success with that child, you know, other developing skills, or, you know, we have Orton Gillingham tutors there that can help the...
I've heard a lot about that. Can you describe what that is, either of you?
Do you know more about it than...
I really don't. It's not my area of expertise.
But it's a writing technique?
Well, it's helping them with words. And it's
reading and writing.
Yes, it's very structured. And they help them with their homework and things like that. It's very efficient and very productive. And I've seen children that have gone through the program, and they've been progressing much better at their studies, and things have changed for them, and they come in and they have more confidence.
Yeah.
You know, it's just remarkable how, you know, I really can't say a whole lot about Orton Gillingham myself, but I've seen the success.
Yeah.
And we have certified Orton Gillingham tutors.
So you do tutoring at the center?
Yes.
So it's like an after-school thing?
After school and on Saturdays.
So how do you know when you're successful?
Well, when the grades are improving, less difficulties at home, less difficulties at the school, and out in the community. It's the parents come in and they're like happier.
That's a good indicator.
Yeah.
Happier parents.
Happier parents, happier
and hopefully
children.
happier kids, right?
Yeah.
It's time for us to take our last break before our final segment, and don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back with Shrink Wrap.
Aloha, I'm Carlos Juarez, host of Global Connections, and I want to invite you to come join us. We cover a range of global issues. We bring a lot of expert opinion, a lot of issues, whether they're contemporary events happening in the world or maybe looking at things from a more historical perspective. Global issues, very important for us to understand in this globally interconnected world. Join us here on Global Connections.
Aloha, I'm Rachel Yergin with Aging with Grace. Please join us every Tuesday on ThinkTech.com.
Hi, I'm Stan the Energy Man, Stan Osterman, and I'm here to tell you about my show on Friday, every Friday, on my lunch hour, 12 o'clock till 1 o'clock here on Think Tech Hawaii. We talk about everything energy and anything you ever wanted to know about energy. So we're full of energy, and we'll see you here every Friday at noon to 1. Aloha.
Welcome back to Shrink Wrap. So we were talking about how do we know if the program is successful. And you were mentioning something about the social groups?
Yeah, well, in the social skills groups, we do a pre-test, post-test to see what things have changed, what things have been increased. We use the social responsive scales. And what this is a questionnaire that, that the parents get to fill out. And it asks very specific questions regarding different social skills and behaviors. And then the parents get the test at the beginning of the rotation, and then again at the end of the rotation. And then for as long as the children are with us, and as many different rotations as they go through, we get to keep track of their developmental process. And we get to see what is maintaining and habituating, and what is dropping off or increasing. For example, if there's a undesirable behavior, is that increasing? Have we not been able to address that? And it helps to guide our
Undesirable behavior
program.
such as getting out of your seat 16 times in an hour?
Yep, that could be one. It's not incredibly desirable in class.
Right. So, and this is all by the parents' report?
Absolutely, absolutely. We haven't drawn in the teachers yet because it's a process.
Yeah,
and
no,
so
I'm
we're
thinking
developing.
the parents would be sure to know if it's not working.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also have questionnaires for the children. They can tell us where they think they are now at the beginning, and then they can tell us where they think they are now at the end of a rotation.
Wow.
And we get to look at the very first day that they began with us, as well as, some have been with us for seasons. And so we can see that they have made dramatic progress or they haven't. And it helps guide our curriculum.
Wow. I would think that it must make the parents feel better, just the fact that they feel like they're doing something to help, right?
It really
gives them
does.
hope, yeah?
It really does. The average parent comes in, by the time they get to us, they're usually really at the end of the rope. They have no idea what they can do next. And they just want help. Somebody help me to help my child.
Yeah.
And we take it really seriously because
What's the age range of the kids that come in?
we have groups as young as with members as young as 6 and as old as early 20s.
Wow.
Yes.
So even post high school.
Oh yes, we have college age groups. The thing is that a lot of people, they slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
And they just get passed over or passed through. And then by the time they get to college, they realize something's not really quite right. And I don't feel comfortable in my own skin, and so I'm going to go get some help. They end up in the college counselor's office who refers them to us.
Before, when we introduced the subject, you had the neuro part. And whenever I think neuro, I always think of the picture of, the guy with all the electrons taped to his scalp. And wouldn't it be great if there was a real GPS and say, oh, over here in the decoding center for reading, it's like, it needs a little shot of Blotzo or whatever. Blotzo. Whatever. I mean, it'd be great if that was possible. We're not there yet in terms of mapping the brain that specifically, are we?
No, we're not. We've got some incredible technology available to us right now with functional MRIs.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Do you ever do that kind of stuff?
But we don't personally. What we do is we try to pinpoint. We do a GPS really of behaviors. So we know where certain behaviors are located in the brain. We know that the short-term memory is located in the frontal area, and so on. So what we're able to do is we're able to test general areas of abilities. For example, with the WISC, we're able to get a general understanding of cognitive abilities. And then we're able to see that there's disruptions here or there. And so let's say we notice that the processing speed and the working memory is kind of on the low end. So what we can do is we can take and administer perhaps a TEACH, which is a test of everyday attention for children. And this kind of breaks down their attention in very, very specific categories. And so we can see that, well, maybe this area of attention is interrupting their processing speed. Maybe it's a visual problem, maybe it's an auditory problem, maybe it's mixed modality, competing attention.
When you talk about attention, I'm always thinking of the riddle of the typical kid, which in the field of urine, I read, I think it's like 4 to 1 boys to girls. Is that about right? Yeah. Who can stay glued to Minecraft on his computer all day long and all night long, right? But has got attention problems in class. What's that about?
That's an excellent question. And I really have no clue.
I think it's a preferred task, though.
Yes.
I mean, if it's something that you really want to do.
So isn't that the key? Is it motivational?
Awesome.
Well, it's also the fact that maybe they are trying to avoid something else, and that just looks like it's an attention problem. You know what I'm saying?
So they're no good in math and they want to avoid it.
So they don't want to
pay attention.
Yeah. Why would I even try? I can't do it.
Okay, so if we can figure out how to work in the reading and the math skills into something as motivating as Minecraft.
Yes. and the attention that we look at with those tests is we look at selective attention, sustained attention, divided attention, and attention switching. So we can tell whether or not a child or an adult too can pay attention to something visual and listen to an auditory task at the same time. How well are they going to do that? How well are they going to deal with two auditory tasks at the same time? So, you know, and how well can they select things in a...
So listening to music and listening to the teacher talk.
Yes. And like how they do with structured versus unstructured, chaotic things. How are they going to pay attention to those things? Do they do better with one? Do they slow down to try to do better? It just all depends. Every child's different.
So when you find out what the child's strengths and weaknesses are, do you pass that information along to the teacher? Like, you know, Johnny learns better in a visual.
Well, we hope that it goes that far. We give it to the parent. You know, and the parents that when they leave our office, they almost are walking on a cloud because they found out what's going on for their child that they didn't understand before. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for their children to become more successful because now the parents understand what's going on. Now if the teacher's involved into it, then it can be very helpful to that child.
So is it a combination of teaching to the child's strength but working to remediate the weakness stuff also? Because some of that stuff, you know, is really good if you know your times table.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you can throw up your hands and say, teach them how to use a calculator. But ideally, it doesn't really solve the problem, right? So what do you do with a kid like that who can't get 6 times 7, can't remember that?
Well, I think they need tutoring, they need intensive support at school. So they're going to get an IEP at school on top of it if they meet the criteria for that. If they have a learning disability or and if it's only ADHD, it's 504 plan. So
you just lost me with the numbers.
It's just
only ADHD? What do you mean? As opposed to ADHD plus what?
Well, like if they have a learning disability and ADHD, they're going to get more services.
Like there's dyslexic and ADHD.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a wide variety of things that can interfere with a child's ability to learn. And also, we also try to educate the parent about the importance of sleep, because without sleep, getting adequate sleep, the child is going to be set back. It's not going to be easy for them to learn new things.
Oh, right. And then to have a good breakfast. I assume that's still important.
Yeah.
Right.
What's best for them in terms of eating, being active, all those things that you
think. What about that thing that was real popular, I don't know, in the 70s and 80s about sugar? Like, sugar's going to make my kid, hyperactive. Is there any truth to that? Has that been debunked?
Well, I think that it's individual. Some people react more to sugar and other foods than, the rest of them. But I think that you just have to rule out anything like that.
So it comes down to the individual person. You can't say overall sugar makes people hyper.
I mean, they've been finding that sugar is not good for you because they've been trying to remove the high fructose sugar from a lot of things.
But I mean, just not good for you in terms of overall health, right?
Yes,
but learning too.
But this is the thing: if it's affecting one part of your body, how do we know that it's not affecting your ability to learn?
Right.
So we're all connected, and so if one thing can affect you here, why can't it affect you in other areas?
So if there's one thing, like let's say, parents don't come to your center, but they're having a problem. If you could only give, your brother Charlie and he's got a kid with a problem and he doesn't have access to your place or anything else, is there any one thing piece of advice you would give your brother about his kid?
Wow. I would say do everything you can to give that child structure. You know, give them something that, you know, a routine that they get up and they do something throughout the whole entire day, whether it's going to school, when they come home, but they need to also have time to play. They need to be children.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything, but they need to have a routine. The more routine it is, the better the child will do.
I'm like that. I know exactly what I'm going to do when I get up, and that's the best part of my day, because I think most of us like routine.
Well, for children and adults,
Yeah.
routines can drop the level of depression for some people.
And stress,
Yes.
right? Like if I don't have to think about what I'm going to do next.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you add anything to that?
Well, if you can't get to us,
Yeah.
get to somebody like us. If your child is having great difficulties, the school counselor or the child's teacher, work with them as closely as you possibly can to help your child develop the way they need to.
Do you favor the Vince Lombardi kind of coaching? Yeah, you're too young to know who he is. Like, you know, more authoritarian or more compassionate way?
Compassion, by far.
Well, I always hold to the authoritative parenting skills. And so you've taught, let's say we're talking about a 12-year-old child.
Okay.
And you've taught them everything that you want them to do in life. You've given them structure, you've worked on. So now it's not so much that you're still trying to teach that child, but you're trying to guide that child and process the information that you have taught and what new things they're encountering so that they can become good decision-making adults. Because if you're always going to do it and do things for them and teach them, they're never going to learn to do it for themselves.
Teach them how to fish rather than fish for them.
Yes.
Right. Well, I think it's time for us to close. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you for
Dobson.
having us.
Gregory, thank you for coming on,
been a
and
pleasure.
thank you for all the work you do with the kids here.
Thank you.
And this has been another session of Shrink Wrap, and join us next week or whenever you're looking at it, because it's on the computer. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Hello, everybody. I'm IC Davidson. Thanks for tuning in to Think Tech Hawaii. One of the things that we do here, or the thing that we do here, is promote civic engagement in Hawaii. What does that mean? We want to talk about things that people want to hear about, and we want you to engage us and be part of that conversation. One of the ways that you can do that is by joining in during our live show via Twitter. How do you do that? You get on the interwebs and get Twitter, get an account, and mention us if you have a question. What you'll do is you tune into our show live, tweet us questions, and our hosts and guests will address them accordingly. It's really easy, it's really fun, and I think that your participation in what we're doing here will help us continue the dialogue on very important issues that we're trying to cover. Sustainability, clean energy, you name it, we're on top of it. We want you to be part of what we're doing, because together we'll be able to make things change. Thank you for watching. Think Tech Hawaii, thinktechhawaii.com, weekdays 12 to 5.